Hello, welcome to News Track. I'm Ladi Williams, and these are the stories we're tracking at this hour. We begin with security matters now. The Taraba State Governor, Abu Kafis, is starting 2026 with a determination to fulfill his promises of improved security. The first local government area to feel the pinch is the Karim Lamido, which has been designated as a special area of security concern. This was Governor Kafis' first executive order for 2026 after careful security assessments and consultations with relevant authorities over years of recurring crises in communities across the local council. The order was signed at the end of a security meeting between Governor Abu Kafis and critical stakeholders to ensure enhanced deployment of security agencies to make the community safe again.
This is the continuation of our meeting after we received the report from the Commission inquiring into the crisis in Karim. Today we are here again to finalize our meetings, come up with a necessary decision, and to give my order to ensure there is peace in Karim and Taraba State as a whole.
And Operation Taninkai has made a major breakthrough in its sustained counterterrorism operations with the identification of Sharif Umar as the principal coordinator of suicide bombing activities responsible for recent attacks and attempted attacks within the northeast. These developments followed intelligence-led cordon and search operations conducted at the Kalmari area of Maiduguri on 31st of December 2025, during which 14 suspects linked to suicide bombing activities were arrested. Subsequent detailed identification and investigative processes established the structure, roles, and operational linkages of the terror cell. During the investigation, a suspected suicide bomber currently in custody identified Sharif Umar, also known as Yusuf, as the ringleader and coordinator of the terror network. According to consistent and corroborated statements, Sharif Umar was responsible for recruiting, preparing, directing, and dispatching suicide bombers to assigned targets, as well as coordinating logistics and delivery of improvised explosive device components. Investigations further revealed that Sharif Umar directly coordinated the suicide bombing attack at the Gamburu Market Mosque on December 24, 2025, during which his accomplice, Adamu, now deceased, detonated a suicide vest. He was also identified as the coordinator of the foiled suicide bombing attempt in Damaturu, personally handing over IED components to the suicide bomber in Maiduguri. Additional links within the network were established, including the involvement of Sharif Umar's wife, Yangana Modu, and the confirmation by his stepdaughter, Amina, who admitted to previously seeing the suspected bomber within their residence. These findings significantly strengthened the investigative trail and exposed the domestic and community-based concealment methods. All suspects remain in custody and undergoing intensive, multi-layered investigations aimed at fully dismantling the network, identifying additional collaborators, and recovering any remaining explosives or logistical assets. And kidnappers holding a traditional ruler in Kwara State, Simeon Olanipeku and the Oniwo of Afi, the son, and other abducted residents have demanded a total ransom of 450 million naira for their release, heightening concerns of the worsening security situation in the state. Sources confirmed on Friday that the abductors are demanding 150 million naira for the release of the monarch and his son, Olaolu, a serving member of the National Youth Service Corps, while an additional 300 million naira has been demanded for the release of 8 residents abducted from Dalarese, a suburb of Igbaja in Ifelodun local government area. The coordinator of the Kwara South Joint Community Security Watch Network, Elder Olaitan Oyuzuber, confirmed the development, noting that ransom negotiations had begun for both sets of abductees. The monarch was abducted on Wednesday night, December 31st, 2025, when gunmen reportedly stormed the royal palace in Afin community. Lere district of Ifelodun local government area at about 8 p.m. Witnesses' accounts indicate that about 8 armed men invaded the palace, firing sporadically and forcing entry into the building. During the attack, the monarch's wife, Felicia Olaunipekun, was shot in the arm and later taken to hospital for treatment. We see the Niger State government have approved the reopening of selected public and private schools across the state effective Monday, January 12, 2026, for an extensive security assessment and consultations with relevant security agencies. This was disclosed in a press statement issued on January 2nd, 2026 by the Niger State Ministry of Basic and Secondary Education, signed by the Honorable Commissioner Hadiza Mohammed. According to the statement, the approval was granted by Governor Umaru Bago as part of efforts to ensure continuity of education while prioritizing the safety of students, teachers, and school communities. The government emphasized that only schools located in areas safe and secure will be allowed to resume academic activities. The ministry notes that adequate security presence will be maintained in and around school premises through collaboration with security agencies to guarantee a safe learning environment. And on November 21st, 2025, the federal government ordered the closure of schools across northern Nigeria following renewed attacks and kidnappings of school children. While some stakeholders argue that shutting down schools was not a sustainable solution to the problem, others insist the focus should be on strengthening safety measures around schools to allow learning to continue. In this special report, our correspondent Hajara Aliyu examines the implications of the decision on students, parents, and the academic calendar.
Once lively classrooms now sit empty and silent. Learning came to an abrupt halt in many northern states in the last quarter of 2025, following a series of attacks on schools by armed bandits. Students from Government Girls Comprehensive School in Kebbi State and St. Mary's Catholic School in Niger State headlined the news in November as bandits abducted school children unresisted. Some of these abducted children remained in captivity for almost 1 month before they were released by their abductors. Fear permeated every part of the education system in the region, causing stakeholders to justify the shutdown of schools as the next target remained unpredictable.
Yes, we close our schools because we were asked to close them by the security agencies. They have told us that there is likelihood of abduction of our students, as has been the practice all over.
There is need for us to go into the drawing board, and if part of going to the drawing board is closure of the schools, I think it is justified.
Abdusamad Abubakar, a student at Dangote College of Nursing Sciences in Bauchi, continues his classes online after authorities ordered all schools in the state closed. However, not all students have access to alternative learning options. For a region already battling the worst education indices in the country, and with the Northeast still recovering from years of Boko Haram insurgency, the new wave of attacks on schools represents yet another major setback. In Yobe State, all boarding schools were shut. Government Girls College Damaturu, which already hosts 3 merged schools due to past insurgency, now confronts fresh security threats. In Adamawa State, 39 boarding schools and 20 private schools were deboarded, posing serious challenges for students who live far from school.
And my message has always been, whatever situation, our children must go to school, they must learn. So learning must continue, going to school must continue, but we have to also do it in such a way that is safe to some extent. We have to reduce the risk.
Back with the signpost, eh?
Quiet and visibly resigned, these students under the Interstate Exchange Program were filmed as they returned to their home states from Plateau following the statewide temporary closure of schools.
We took the action to prevent the children and to also help parents not to panic, because I believe some parents were already panicking.
Meanwhile, schools across 4 local government areas in Kwara State were also shut, leaving many families with so much anxiety.
It affects my children because they are about to start exams. Some of them are saying they will no longer go back to school because of that.
If care is not taken, those that, the children that are affected, they may not be able to cope up with the pressure when they come back to cover what is left over and then to continue with their normal sessions.
With the academic calendar heavily disrupted, some states commenced developing remedial learning plans.
We are already working with the Ministry of Education, NSUBEB, and other stakeholders to develop a recovery schedule. This includes adjustment of timelines, structured catch-up programs, and targeted learning support.
As schools are set to resume normal academic work, the federal government's Safe School initiative is now under intense scrutiny by the National Assembly with a series of questions demanding answers. Hajara Aliyu, Channels Television News.
And to land matters. Now, the Gombe Geographic Information System say owners of plots of land at the former Bafor recently redesigned and renamed Shehu Abubakar District in the heart of Gombe metropolis have until January 16th, 2026 to recertify their property or risk forfeiture. According to the Director General of GOGIS, Dr. Kabiru Hassan, having violated the conditions of grant as prescribed by Extant Land Use Acts, Governor Inuwa Yahaya used the instrumentality of Executive Order 007 of 2024 to lawfully revoke all rights of land occupancy in the layout. However, after redesigning and expending over 24 billion naira on gully erosion control and road construction in the layout, Governor Inuwa Yahaya's government, on compassionate grounds, has given the original owners of the land second opportunity and right of first refusal to regularize and recertify their property in the layout.
This layout, allocated under former Bauchi State, was known as BAP 4. However, majority of the allottees left the plots undeveloped for over 40 years and further subdivided them into smaller portions, which Gombe State describes as gross contravention of Section 28 of the Land Use Act and good grounds for revocation. Using Executive Order 007 of 2024, Governor Inuwa Yahaya revoked rights of occupancy, renamed the layout from BAP 4 to Shehu Abubakar District after former Emir of Gombe State, fixed giant gullies that threatened the layout, constructed network of roads that gulped over 24 billion naira, but decided to give the original owners back the land on compassionate grounds.
Following the successful conclusion of the documentation phase, and in furtherance of government obligation to ensure orderly land administration under Section 1 and 5 of the Land Use Act, the agency commenced issuance of new allocation letters prioritizing individuals whose titles were revoked by the Order 007. Notwithstanding the expiration of the said deadline, and in clear demonstration of good faith, equity, and inclusiveness, management of the agency, with approval of His Excellency, carefully considered several representations and appeals from affected allottees who had already been duly documented but were unable to complete the process within the stipulated time frame.
The regularization and recertification exercise, which began since September 2024, has now been extended to January the 16th, 2026, after which no-show allottees risk forfeiture in the overriding public interest and in keeping Gombe State's modernization drive.
The management has approved a final extension of the deadline, and accordingly, the deadline for the recertification of plots and collection of allocation letters is hereby extended to Friday, 16 January 2026, with effect from Monday, 5th January 2026. This extension is granted strictly and exclusively to eligible allottees who had previously participated in the documentation and verification exercise. All concerned individuals are required to present themselves at the agency within the extended period with the following documents: acknowledgement of documentation slip, original title documents, one recent passport size photograph, valid means of identification, national identity card, international passport, or driver's license. In cases of loss of documents, certified true copy police extract, sworn affidavit, and where an eligible allotee is unavailable, we need a duly executed letter of authority for the person to collect allocation on their behalf.
As the premier land administration agency in Gombe State, GoGIS cautions that the newly redesigned and remodeled Shehu Abubakar district, built as a layout with low population density, should not be distorted into a high population density by land speculators and vendors.
All right, still ahead on News Track, we get updates from the Africa Cup of Nations. That's in sports. Do stay with us. Welcome back to other stories now. As part of its continued efforts to promote the study of science and technology relevant to societal needs, the Modibo Adama University Yola signed a memorandum of understanding with the Indian Institute of Technology for the establishment of a research, development and innovation center at the university. Vice Chancellor of the university, Professor Ibrahim Umaru, who presided over the ceremony in Yola, the Adamawa state capital, appreciates the Indian Institute of Technology for its partnership, which he says is in line with the reforms embarked upon by the federal government.
Modibo Adama University in Yola, the Adamawa state capital, was established in 1981 by the federal government, initially as a University of Technology, to train skilled manpower in science and technology fields. It officially transitioned to its current name in 2021 after President Muhammadu Buhari signed the establishment bill, converting it from a specialized technology university to a conventional institution. Since its founding, the institution has undergone several transformations as a public research university and hopes to do more through collaborations, including this tripartite agreement with the Indian Institute of Technology, Madras, and the Curry Group for the establishment of a research, development, and innovation center.
Scholars who solves problem and local patterns to understudy the current issues of Adamawa and the neighboring states. So this is going to be a research and resistance development and identity at Modibo Adamawa University Yola. So knowledge is the strongest counter-extremism against everything in this world. So the young minds are trained to model flood, design resilient infrastructures, build AI systems, optimize agriculture, and protect the environment. No ideology of destructive survives. So we are just going to go into the sectors of engineering, science, climate and water systems, digital infrastructures, social innovations, indigenous technology development, which will be patterned to the Modibo Adamawa University and the stakeholders into that.
For Adamawa State and the general public, this center means development and scientific validation of medicinal herbs for health solutions rooted in local knowledge. Value addition to palm trees and palm products, including food processing, cosmetics, biomaterials, and industrial inputs.
The Vice Chancellor of the university describes the signing of the MOU as a landmark event.
The highlights of this MOU includes to bridge the gap between the academia and industry through research, innovation, and practical skill development, to jointly offer virtual, remote, and hybrid professional courses developed by Nigerian, Indian, and other international experts, to transform academic research and prototypes into commercially viable products, and to promote indigenous technology and empower local content in Nigeria's industrial and technological systems, to attract public and private investors into innovation ecosystem under the MA Blue R&D and Innovation Center. Any of our findings through our research centers will not be now kept in the shelves, but is going to be patented, commercialized for the benefit of everybody.
This partnership marks a new dawn for Modibo Adama University, setting the stage for a future where Nigerian universities are not just centers of learning, but drivers of innovation, entrepreneurship, and industrial growth.
And in business, the governor of Adamawa, Umar Fintiri, signed a 2026 appropriation bill of 583.3 billion naira into law following its passage by the State House of Assembly. Christened the budget of sustainable growth, it allocates 209.65 billion naira, about 35.93% to recurrent expenditure, while capital projects receive 379.7 billion naira, representing 64.07% of the total budget. Governor Fintiri said the budget prioritizes the completion of ongoing projects and focuses on education, security and healthcare, expanding support for agriculture. The signing ceremony was attended by the Deputy Governor, Professor Kalitapwa Afarauta, Speaker Batia Wesley and other lawmakers. And we see Berkshire Hathaway shares fell Friday as Greg Abel officially became CEO, marking the end of Warren Buffett's 6-decade tenure. Class shares dropped as much as 1.4% in early trading Friday. The company ended 2025 with nearly 11% in gains, extending a decade-long streak of positive returns. Though lagging the broader market, Buffett remains chairman and says the company's future is secure. Buffett leaves a historic legacy, transforming Berkshire into a powerhouse that outperformed the S&P 500 for decades. And to EVs now, Tesla says it's delivered 418,000 vehicles in the fourth quarter of 2025, down 16% from a year earlier and below market expectations. We see the Model 3 and Model Y accounted for about 97% of total deliveries. Sales of higher-end models and the Cybertruck remained limited. Tesla is also facing stronger competition from rivals, including China's BYD, which has overtaken it as the world's largest electric vehicle seller. Tesla will release its full fourth quarter financial results on January 28th, as investors continue to watch how rising competition and slowing demand affect the company's performance. And we see U.S. President Donald Trump says he has captured the Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro and his wife, following what he calls a large-scale strike against the country. The operation was carried out by the U.S. Army's Delta Force, America's top counterterrorism unit. Trump says Maduro has been flown out of the country, and the Venezuelan government has yet to confirm the abduction of its president. But the U.S. had offered a $50 million reward for information leading to the arrest of Maduro. That, along with a huge military buildup in the region over the last few months, were interpreted as the region as encouragement for someone inside the country to turn against him. Confirming the strike on his verified Truth Social handle, President Trump is quoted as saying the operation was done in conjunction with U.S. law enforcement. The U.S. President's statement reads in part, the large-scale strike against Venezuela and its leaders, President Nicolas Maduro, has been long and is with his wife captured and flown out of the country. Venezuela's government rejects and denounces military aggression by the U.S. as President Maduro declares a state of national emergency. And at least 7 people have died and many others missing after a boat carrying about 200 migrants attempting to reach Europe capsized off the coast of the Gambia, according to authorities. The boat overturned on Wednesday night near Jinak village in the North Bank region and was later found grounded on a sandbank. The country's defense ministry also confirmed this. 96 people have been rescued so far. Search is continuing over other passengers who were aboard the shipwrecked vessel that's headed towards Spain's Canary Islands. The perilous journey over the Atlantic Ocean has become an increasingly common route for African migrants trying to reach Europe. Time for Stars head coach Miguel Gamodi has labeled Tanzania's upcoming Africa Cup of Nations AFCON round of 16 fixture against Morocco as the toughest match in the nation's footballing history. The Argentine tactician acknowledged the immense challenge of facing the host nation and tournament favourites. Gamodi, who previously lived and coached in Morocco, noted that his side must navigate the intense pressure of a vociferous home crowd at the Prince Moulay Abdullah Stadium if they hope to pull off an upset.
We are happy to be here. Really, it's a privilege for us, and we are facing probably the toughest game we'll do for the Tanzanian history, but we are ready to play and do our best to try to get a good result for us and show a good image for the Tanzanian football. Sometimes I'm feeling pain, not pain, but when people criticize. Samatta maybe criticize people in Tanzania, people who cannot understand football. But when you understand football, you are inside the game, you see maybe it's more important Samatta now than before.
And Tanzania captain Mbwana Samatta declared that the tougher stars are mentally prepared to handle the intense atmosphere facing host nation Morocco in the historic Africa Cup of Nations round of 16 clash. The veteran striker emphasized that while the Atlas Lions will benefit from a vociferous home crowd at the Prince Moulay Abdullah Stadium, his squad remains focused on the task at hand rather than the noise in the stands.
I was talking about it, I had chill because it's the game that every player would love to play. Excited. So we can't wait for tomorrow. Of course, we respect Morocco. We know how the game is going to be tomorrow. It's going to be a tough game, but it will be nice to play that kind of game. And also in Tanzanian football, when there is a derby, it's actually going to be the same crowd as tomorrow. So I believe all of the players that are in the national team now, they're used to play such kind of game.
And that's Sports News Tracker this hour. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Bye for now.